There are so many things to practice that it can seem a little overwhelming and a bit difficult to know where to start. I think you'll get a lot out of just learning these three things. I think the biggest barrier to sounding good on the bass is how quickly and efficiently your fingers move. And that's your technique, so that's the number one thing I think I'd work on. If you can play your favourite bass lines and sounds that pop into your head well, then you sound good, and conversely, if you can't, you're going to get disheartened. Now, if you go to the technique section of this free course, you'll find loads of exercises to work on your technique, and you really do have to take your time and figure it out and spend the time necessary to strengthen your technique. But once you do, playing will become easier. When it becomes easier, it becomes more enjoyable. So I would say to work on fingerstyle first. There are loads of different techniques out there, but fingerstyle is the thing I think to work on first because most bass lines use that. So if I kind of think of a little line now in my head, you know, I mean, I'm using ghost notes, hammer-ons, slides, and that's using an E minor pentatonic scale. So I kind of devised this site to be working on, you know, theory, groove, scales, all kinds of different things coming together. But I think technique will be the vehicle for you to sound good to start with. I'm a huge fan of online education, hence this blog. I've learnt a lot online myself, but when I was growing up, there was no online. So any bass line I had to work out had to be done by ear. There was really no other way unless someone told you how to play it. Now, it's a little bit of a dying art now, I think, because you can go online or get the tab or whatever, and you can suddenly you're playing the bass line without really knowing how it's constructed or how it works. Now, playing by ear is a great skill to have if you want to learn how to figure out bass lines quickly. If you're on a session, maybe you need to come up with something, or even in a gig when you need to figure out a tune quickly or make up fills, all kind of those kinds of things. That happens much, much easily if you've worked on your ear, if you've worked out loads of bass lines yourself. It's very easy to internalize it after a while. So I'd really, really recommend learning to play tunes by ear. Now you'll find that if you look around this site, even in the free course, I teach you a minor pentatonic scale. So many bass lines just use that. You can improvise with that. Like after a while, your ear will tune into the fact that many bass lines use just a handful of scales. It's not as many as you think. It's not as difficult as you think. So start learning your favorite bass lines just using your ear. Start slowly. Pause after you hear a note. Try and figure it out. And then just piece it together like a jigsaw puzzle. And then after a while, you'll see so many connections that you'll be able to do it much, much quicker. I've mentioned this a few times, but timing, groove and feel are three of the most important things you can understand as a bass player and work on. You listen to any great bass performance, any great bass player, and you're hearing those things. Now, I think they're quite closely linked to technique, because let's say you had some sort of a funk groove that went you need the technique to be able to play that. But there's no point playing it if it's out of time or a bit sloppy, then it's just not right. So timing, groove and feel coupled with a decent technique, you'll sound great. Go to the groove part of this free course and I explain it more there and give you a few exercises to work on.